It's that time of year, folks. The time where I question the meaning of life by ranking every 2022 movie I've seen from worst to best. Now remember last year where I gave only 2 movies F tier and 1 movie A plus tier? Well, this year, not only do I have 3 A plus tier movies, but 4 F tier movies. Why do I do this to myself? I'm smarter than this.
Apparently not.
So overall, this year was kind of a mess in quality for movies. But regardless, the highs of this year are genuinely some of my all-time favorites, and then there's the bottom, which are just the bottom. Also, I think I'm just gonna change things up and generalize the tiers to their respective letter, rather than cause more pain to myself by saying this is D- and this is C+, because that's just torture. I didn't watch quite as many movies as I did last year, but I've watched enough to where I feel like
I want to die, so I'm going home.
Sure, but please don't die.
Also, unlike last year, I will be expanding upon my thoughts when we get to my top 10 because I at least owe a bigger explanation as to why I love those movies and put them in my top 10. So let's start this ranking off with some stinkies. You know, for a long time, I've never had an answer to what is my least favorite horror movie ever. Until now! Not only is this an unnecessary requel to an already dead franchise that was just bad in just every single way, but it tries to emulate / copy the success of other better movies out there, and what we got was just pure shitty unoriginality. I think I spoke too soon when I named Earwig and the Witch as my least favorite animated movie ever, because this year came with an even lamer recipient to that title. Yay! This franchise is as dead as its studio, and this is just playing with his corpse at this point with annoying characters and voice acting, a story that goes nowhere, and awful animation. So just another Ice Age movie. From minute 1, I just wanted to cut Pierce Brosnan's hair. It was just so hideous. You're telling me that the Chatterbait horror movie was terrible? Gee, I wouldn't have guessed. You don't know how badly I want to put this in F tier because holy fuck, this is so bad. This is so repulsive. But at least Ana de Armas is doing her best Marilyn Monroe impression, so I have to at least acknowledge something decent to come out this shitpost of a movie. This was so bad and so boring that I honestly would have watched Rise of Skywalker 1,000 more times before I begin to think of rewatching this film or this trash ass trilogy. One of the most forgettable action movies of the year that could have been something neat if the writing and direction didn't feel so Taken 3-ish. I'm glad Mina Masu's getting more acting roles, but damn, this wasn't it for you, man. Hell yeah, it's Morbin time, bitches! It's hashtag Morbius takeover, hashtag best movie ever, hashtag $1 trillion movie, hashtag wanna die, hashtag end my suffering. The dog was the real star of this movie. It's alright, Kevin, you can take a break. It'll be good for you and massively beneficial for the rest of us. If it wasn't for the last 20 minutes, this movie would have definitely been much lower, but hey, at least Busta Rhymes doesn't karate kick Michael out a window. Probably one of the most boring romances I've ever seen, but at least Cosmo Jarvis is getting more work. Go watch Calm with Horses, please. Someone please kill Johnny for the love of Christ. What else can I say that hasn't been said already about this film? It is peak. What the fuck happened with this movie? It's like Olivia Wilde made coolish looking visuals, then tried to make a story revolving around those visuals. But at least it gave us these moments to help me cope. I respect the bold attempt this movie makes at creating a one-take action movie, but like it could have been a lot better with its editing and story. Not funny, but it's cute enough. I love all the talents involved, so why did this turn out so boring with its story and characters? I'm always gonna pull for smaller horror movies, especially international ones, but when your movie leads to nothing, I can't fully support it. This has to be the saddest blockbuster of the year in that no one asked for it, no one went to see it, and no one remembers it. JK, you've done enough. Now fucking go away, please. This was just a smidge better than Don't Worry Darling for Harry Styles, but ultimately felt very generic with the way it tells its story, even if the premise was kind of interesting. Without a doubt, the most disposable Pixar movie I've ever seen with some of its best animation. Even if it had more marketing, it would have still been one of the most average Disney movies ever made. While Don't Worry Darling was the most disappointing live action movie of the year, for me, this was the most disappointing animated project of the year. I'm sorry, I really wanted to love it, especially with Henry Selick coming back to the director's seat. But man, the overly complicated plot and massive cast ultimately brought this movie down for me. This was a fairly fun revenge movie that could have been something special, but the ending reverted on that big twist, making this movie worse. I guess I see why people love this movie so much, but I don't know, I guess I saw it as a fun but forgettable horror experience. I mean, the animation is neat, but man, this movie couldn't get me as invested as I was hoping.
Baby, can't you see I'm calling?
A fairly mid-ass movie with some of the wildest scenes I've seen all year. I don't hate this movie as much as other people did, but yeah, the tone really was a mess throughout. But hey, I'm still a major whore for Taika Waititi, so shut up. Had some higher highs than the original, but the story itself wasn't as compelling. But man, give Millie more roles, please. Yeah, no. My anxiety will never allow me to fully like this movie. But damn, it was tense. Was this something I was looking forward to? No. But was this a fun watch? Yes. Drunk Murder Happy Santa is best Santa. I'm genuinely surprised I actually like this movie, even as a major Uncharted fan. I still love the casting, especially Mark Wahlberg as my man Sully, but the action was fun and the adventure was somewhat compelling. Also, I cried a bit when the original theme played. Man, I wanted to love this movie as much as other people did, but I just found it kind of boring in the first half. But it was very sweet towards the end, so I guess it's fine. I enjoy a goofy rom-com, and this sure is that. I think J-Lo and Owen Wilson have great chemistry together, but yeah, the conventions of the genre did drive this movie thin after a while. Also, stop casting Sarah Silverman in things, please. A fairly predictable war flick, but also a fairly engaging one. Also, something about seeing George Takei running in a war movie hits for me. I can't say it's my favorite of the Scream franchise, but many twists work for me, and I appreciate the risks this film took. Also, something about Mikey Madison burning to death in a movie hits for me. Wish the titular Kimmy had more to do with the plot, but I enjoyed most of the directions this film took, and I'm a major whore for Zoe Kravitz, so I liked it. Both Baby's first Knives Out and Wes Anderson film, but it was pretty neat overall. Austin Butler is a treasure that carries this movie way beyond what it could have been. I had way more fun with this than I expected, even with its bullshit conclusion. I may have some problems with how Billy Eichner has been marketing this, but hey, it's a really cute, horny movie, and I'm in for it. Can it be a bit self-indulgent? Yes. But do I still love Nick Cage for doing this? Also yes. While the potential for this film to further the MCU was completely lost for a while, I still had some fun with how Sam Raimi created this film, and I hope he comes back to make more comic book movies, please. Probably the most divisive movie of the year, but I found it to be pretty damn atmospheric, and Rory Kinnear is fucking legendary in this. Did not expect to feel much emotion in this, but I guess I'm just the sad kind of person who would like this, because I just want to give Ray a hug so badly. This was just a very sweet and charming rom-com, and my crush for Samara Weaving just got bigger. There's a lot of penis in this. So like, where was Peter Dinklage Oscar nomination again? This guy is still on Instagram. The fuck? Putting historical inaccuracies aside, Viola Davis is indeed king. If my life was narrated by ultimate YouTube gamer Jablinski Games, I'd be satisfied. Pushing away the big plot holes here, Ethan Hawke can fucking work the villain look. While nearly 2.5 hours of film is too much for this kind of horror movie, I had way more fun than I did with the last one, and Art the Clown is a new go-to for most fucked up villain in movies. I enjoyed this way more than I expected, with having the same spirit of a Spielberg movie and the charm of Sean Levy's previous work. In his new trilogy of Ryan Reynolds-led movies, I like this a little bit more than Free Guy. Also, that kid is a little shit and I love him. Denzel and Frances McDormand banging it up as these Shakespearean psychopaths, I dig it. Danielle Deadwyler fucking owns. Both one of the most hilarious and uncomfortable things I've seen all year. But that final act though, ooh man. I miss Killmonger, but the visuals and actions are massively improved upon the first film, and this was a great send-off to Chadwick, for sure. I watched this on Thanksgiving. Just watch the trailer and you'll understand my mistake. While the ending was wildly underwhelming and I needed more from other characters, I enjoyed the hell out of this wild horror comedy whatever movie. John Boyega's career is looking good after, you know. I'm so happy for Brendan Fraser, but if you held a gun up to my head and told me to watch this again, I'd say pull the hammer back and squeeze the trigger, cause god, this was depressing. While fairly simple in story and characters, the action went so hard, the effects were great, and the direction was spot on. Probably my favorite in the Predator franchise. The movie Fresh was trying to be, but actually good. Tastes good too. I'm a simple man. Give me some Gael Garcia Bernal tearing ass as a killer furry, and I click. This film is similar to Barbarian in how it switches genres halfway through, but the emotional character work honestly evolved this film higher than I expected. Ironically, the best biopic of the year. This year I got some jackass, and this year made me more afraid of bees than ever before. What else can I say? I'm a slut for both Lee Pace and Rachel Sennott. This is absolutely one of the most underrated animated movies of the year, with its stellar action, memorable characters, really great animation, and a pretty layered story too. Also give Carl Urban more roles. I know he's pretty famous, but goddammit he's too good. A wonderful reunion special, kinda ruined by the appearance of a certain someone, but still really great. Rest in peace, Robbie Coltrane. Easily the scariest horror movie of the year for me, and one of the only good found footage horror movies, don't at me. Old people do be creepy sometimes. Yes, more jackass, and more reasons for me to never befriend anyone again. I've covered this film in my Guillermo del Toro video, but damn was this just the most visually pleasing animated movie I've seen in a really long time. 45 minutes of cute and wholesome fun, and you get the best thing Marvel has put out this year. Old people when they're younger are still pretty creepy sometimes. It's like if you took all Kid Cudi's latest album and made an entire League of Legends / Spider-Verse AMV out of it. Pretty great. While not being nearly as emotionally impactful as Inside, Bo Burnham still gives us one of the best comedies of the year, and I'm more excited for the rest of the ICU than the rest of the MCU. Adam Sandler still proves he's got the dramatic talent with this film, even if the story can feel fairly predictable. But fuck you, I really love this movie. Lunana, a yak in the classroom. More like, Lunana, no yak, more classroom. Slit my throat now. I like to imagine the pitch for this movie was like, what if you made an origin story movie for the old guy from Toy Story 2, and this was the outcome? Stunning direction, graphic, realistic war scenes, and the most terrifying tank scene since Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, this movie owns. Jenna Ortega is easily one of the best rising talents of the modern day, and this was my favorite performance from her. She was tragic, compelling, and relatable all at once, and damn, she was just a treat here. While maybe not as strong a feature as The Lighthouse, mostly due to some pacing issues and some characters receiving less development than I may have hoped, Robert Eggers still proves he's a beast of a director with this film. Brilliant performances, intense action, surprising twists on the Hamlet Lion King formula makes this an easy favorite of the year for me. Also, Ethan Hawke farts, and really that's all I needed. Cate Blanchett has proven to be one of my favorite actresses ever, and this is easily my favorite performance from her, and one of the best of the year. Also, this film has one of my favorite ending shots of the year that's both hilarious and tragic at the same time. Highly recommend it. I may be more in love with this film than most people, but watching this both right after watching Birdman and seeing it in 35mm film, it was easily the most magical experience. It carries the themes of Birdman while also telling a completely different tale that had a fairly rough beginning but came together beautifully by the end. Keep eating that cake, Spielberg, you're doing great, sweaty. This was easily one of the most captivating movies of the year, while also being one of the trippiest movies I've ever seen. Like, try not feeling high after watching this, it won't work. I think this film has one of the strongest chances of getting better upon rewatch, but even with one sitting, I think this was one of the cutest and most unique movies I've ever seen. Also, why isn't Marcel real? Mamoru Hosoda remains as an absolute legend with this profound and inspiring VTuber livestream. This film took 25 years to finally come out, and introduce feces feeding tubes. Yes, that was a thing, and it was glorious. One of the most subtle and emotional movies of the year, with an opening credits scene that I swear to God may be one of my favorite scenes of the year solely because of how much of an emotional jar it felt watching. But seriously, it was fantastic. Thank Christ I only know how to heat up frozen pizzas and pre-made ramen. This just narrowly missed the top 10, but this is one of the most fun movies I've seen in a long time, with great characters, stylish direction, a well-connected narrative, and some wildly inventive action. Also, I took a Thomas the Tank Engine character quiz to see who I would be, and yep, I'm your boy. Hell yeah, main character syndrome, bitches. The biggest thing this movie proved, besides being one of the best produced and edited movies I've seen all year, was that water was indeed wet. I think Colin Farrell is one of my favorite actors ever, and this might be his most subtle and captivating performance ever. Brendan Gleeson is equally fantastic, and both have some fantastic comedic timing. Also, I like the donkey because I like donkey. And now we've finally made it to my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Yeah, this video so far has been an unnecessarily long and tedious honorable mentions list. How does that feel, Mr. Krabs? How does that feel?
I've also been known as the Fairy Love.
Yes, I'm shocked this made it to my top 10 too. But here we are. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is one of the best animated movies I've seen in a really long time, and definitely the best of the year for me. The action has such great direction, and it helps that the animation is some of DreamWorks' best, mixing in a bit of what Spider-Verse did, but also having its own way of presenting it. The characters are really lovable and are so much fun to be around. The villain is so damn cool and has a lasting impact on the hero, and the themes of mortality and moving past nostalgia are so powerful. It did slow down a little too much after the opening scene, but once it picks up, it really picks up. I never thought in a million years that a sequel to a somewhat generic animated movie would ever be one of my favorite things to come out this year, and yet here we are. Unironically, give me Shrek 5, please. Almost every year, there's always that one movie where I reflect on moments in my life and try to comprehend what may come in the future. And this year had two of those films for me. One we'll get to in a little bit, and another being After Sun. I've heard buzz surrounding this movie after TIFF, but I didn't know much about it. But this film has really affected me like no other, analyzing moments of fleeting joy from one's childhood contrasted with the lasting agony of aging and growing up. Frankie Corio is a freaking revelation in this film, and Paul Mescal gives a heartbreaking performance here. The filmmaking is very purposeful, and the story is just super engaging and impactful. My only critique is just some minor sound design issues and maybe a scene or two that dragged on a little too long, but damn, I just adored this mature and quiet masterpiece. Also, no, I still don't want kids, thank you.
Layers! Onions have layers.
Rian Johnson is still one of my favorite directors working today, and Glass Onion proves that even further. The first Knives Out still is one of my favorite movies that just gets better with every viewing. And while I don't think this movie surpasses it entirely, I still believe this to be an incredible movie and a worthy sequel. The mystery is engaging, the twists are well set up, the cast is astounding, Janelle Monáe's dazzling as all hell, the production design is insanely good, the characters are all selfish assholes and I love them, and Benoit Blanc may be my favorite character that Johnson has ever written, and one of my favorite characters in modern fiction. The comedy that comes from his writing and Daniel Craig's performance is fantastic, and he even has some great dramatic moments too. My only real complaint is that I wish some of the other characters had more time to shine or develop. There's enough there to make me remember them, but they don't go through as much as others might. I'm sure that on a second watch this issue wouldn't be as prevalent, but it's really my only gripe I have with it. This is one of the most fun movies I've seen all year, and just continue to show why Rian Johnson is one of the best directors working today. Also Among Us, there I said it.
Welcome to the 21st century, Buck Rogers.
I'm not usually a big rom-com fan. There's some that I like and some that I even love, like Your Name, but most of the time they all feel largely disposable and forgettable to me. But fuck man, 20th Century Girl rocks so hard. This is easily the most overlooked and underrated movie I've seen all year. I've been dipping my toes into more K-dramas recently, and I came around to this one since I saw it was getting very popular on Letterboxd, so I decided to watch it on a complete whim on a random morning, and god damn it, I just adore it. The characters are all relatable and distinctive, the comedy really lands, there are twists in the story that in hindsight I should have seen coming, but they still surprised me, and the ending absolutely destroyed me. The cinematography and direction gives the film this whimsical tone, which makes sense since we're delving into this woman's memories, and once things start getting more serious, the tone and the colors start to change and become less exciting and more depressing, and oh my god, it's so good! I will say that I wish some characters had more time to shine because I love them all so much that when some characters are gone for a bit and then they appear much later down the line, it makes me think they should have gotten more time to develop. But besides that, this is a movie I hope more people watch. Korean cinema deserves a lot more attention. You get your exceptions like Parasite, but movies like this, Train to Busan, and Silence have become some of my favorite movies I've seen in a really long time and need more attention. Also, I'm a hopeless romantic, so shut up, let me like what I like.
This next part is very important. I need you to cha-cha real smooth.
Cooper Raiff is a freaking king for how reflective and relatable his writing is, and Cha-Cha Real Smooth has already proven that for me. I thought it would be impossible to improve on the already excellent Shithouse, but somehow he found a way. This is the other film this year that made me think about my past and future in such a profound way. It shows the goodness in humanity and how no matter how old or young you are, you can make a difference in at least one person's life. It also tells you to take your time with your dreams and make the best with the life you still have, enjoy the people around you, and just simply find the joy in the simplest of interactions. The performances all hit, Dakota Johnson gives her best performance here, Cooper is just a talent all around with his acting, directing, and writing. The ending had me in tears, and the relationship built in this movie had me wishing this movie would never end. It did take a bit of time for me to get invested, but I can't complain much on this. Cooper's mom, you should be very proud of your son.
He's like, hey, it's all good. What is that show that you said you were on again? And then I go, the Walking Dead? And the tech behind me goes, oh! I love The Walking Dead!
The talk around Nope has been very divisive, to say the least. Arguably less divisive than Us, but opinions have for sure been all over the place. Even my friend group has either been highly positive or horribly negative. As for myself, yeah, I'm absolutely part of the former crowd. This film is a tense, profound, unsettling, badass masterpiece. While I still think Get Out is Jordan Peele's magnum opus, this film probably does the most for me on an analytical basis. There's so much to deconstruct regarding how it plays with genres and tropes, as well as how each character plays into the overall theme of the film. Even the names of each character has something interesting to dissect. It's just so fantastic. I will say that some storylines could have been tied in a bit better with some writing adjustments like with Gordy, but it still has importance towards what the film is trying to convey, so it doesn't really hurt my experience. Also, yeah, I will admit the whole perfect shot plot hole has enough water in its cup for me to say, yeah, it's a valid criticism, but honestly, I really don't care. This film just gets better and better the more I think about it. Peele is still king, and I cannot wait to see what he does next.
Spinning is not flying.
But it's a good trek.
How is this movie good? There's no way this movie works this well. I have some fun with the original, but like, is it really that classic? Like, it's a largely forgettable action movie with some decent action and effects, but fuck, the repeated songs just get annoying after a while. So like, how do you make this much of an improvement with a sequel made over 30 years later? Yeah, this is the biggest movie of the year for a reason. It's just phenomenal. The character dynamics have a lot more weight to them, the training scenes are a lot more fun, the performances are all top notch for this kind of movie, the editing and cinematography blew me away, the action has such a great amount of build up and payoff to them. I love the arc that Maverick goes through, as well as his relationship with Rooster. The scene with Iceman had me in tears, and this film has one of the best third acts of the year, as well as one of the most intense. My only real nitpick with this film is just some of the dialogue could be a little too cheesy. But then again, that's also the intention of the director, and it comes with the territory, so it's a really small complaint. What else can be said about this film? I never thought a movie like this could join other fantastic late sequels like Blade Runner 2049 and Mad Max Fury Road, and yet, here we are. Also just Bob. I love Bob. You know, I see plenty of movies in a single year. I see films that allow me to delve deep into the human psyche and understand the thought process of those humans. I see films that make me look at the horrors of reality and how bad humanity could be in certain moments in history. But then I see RRR and I'm like... It's good. I'll admit that I'm not super well versed into Indian cinema as much as I should be, because there are some incredible and talented directors from there that made equally incredible movies, and this film is a perfect example of this. I've not watched a movie that invoked this much unbridled hype from me since maybe Endgame. The tone is perfect for these types of action scenes to feel organic. The story is engaging throughout, especially for a 3-hour-long movie. The characters and performances are perfect, and I wanted to see more from them. The bromance from these two men is one for the ages. The journey they go on is so much fun and so badass. If you need any proof as to why this bromance works so well and how much fun this film is, watch the dance number on YouTube. Truly one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen. The stakes were so well realized, the effects are really good, how they utilize water and fire is so creative. Just watch this movie. It may be 3 hours, but who cares? Deal with it. You've seen Avatar, you have no excuse. You'll be in for one of the most hype movies ever made. Yeah, if you've checked out any best of the year videos, chances are you've heard the brilliance of Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that's no mistake. This film is, for lack of a better word, everything. It is the most ambitious and bold movie I've seen in a really long time. Tackling something as big as the multiverse is one thing, but scattering in themes of abandonment, failure, the struggles of parenthood, coming into age, grappling with modernity, coping with generational trauma, and making peace with your present turns this into a far more complex and moving piece of cinema. The visuals, cinematography, editing, sound design, and choreography are some of the best of the year. I loved all the story progressions, leading to one of the most satisfying third acts I've ever seen in a movie. And I loved every single character for what they represent in the story and how each is developed throughout. And this is a film that pays off even more upon rewatch. On my first go around, I thought it was amazing, but dragged on a bit too long in places. But after watching it again, not only do I think the pacing feels much better here and more tight, but I was able to understand plenty more on what the film was trying to say, and it then quickly went from a high 9 out of 10 to an absolute 10 out of 10. I know, how bold of me to say that one of the best movies of the year was one of the best movies of the year. How completely shocking. The only real shock is that this is only number 2 on my list. This goes to show how great cinema was for this year. Nevertheless, what a film, and what a work of art. Also, butt plugs. Hell yeah.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I'm vengeance.
Even with plenty of other masterpieces I've seen this year, as much as I would love to put any of my other top 3 as my number 1, there was still one movie that stood out more than the rest. And if you've seen a certain ranking video I've made earlier this year, you know exactly what movie I'm talking about. And God, I wish I could make a Morbius joke here. You don't know how hard I'm holding back. But no, it's The Batman. Simply put, there's not been a movie this year that's been more exciting, engaging, and satisfying to watch from beginning to end quite like this film. A film that shouldn't work judging from the amount of time it took to get made and the time difference between this and the last Batman movie, but somehow it does, and then some. From the dark, natural look of Gotham to the beautiful cinematography that gives this film so much more personality, the score that helps build its hero, action that is so rad to watch that is so skillfully crafted, a story that gives its characters time to think and process who they are and want to be, and having the best interpretation of Batman in any live-action movie, along with one of its best performances. Basically, watch my Batman ranking video if you want my full reasoning as to why this film is so brilliant. Even my one issue I had is basically gone since I've grown past it with each subsequent viewing, while I still hold 2 other Batman movies as my favorites. This film did the impossible and showed me why Batman means more to me than I ever thought. Also Penguin. Give me more of him. To wrap it all up,
Everybody on this planet stumbles at one time or another. But that's not what defines us. What defines us is how we get back up and learn from our mistakes and get back into life and contribute. You have no control over what fate throws at you. You don't know what's coming tomorrow or next month. Life throws curveballs at everybody. But what you do have control over is how you react to those curveballs. You can let them crush you and make you bitter, or you can learn from them and take that knowledge and get back into life. And I tell you, when you face those challenges, you realize really quickly what's truly important. And it isn't the material stuff. That stuff can disappear in a heartbeat. What's truly important are the people in your life, the lives you touch and the people who touch your life. A friend like Koichi who wants to celebrate you on your birthday. That is priceless. So have a great birthday. And remember, Kevin, it's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you.
thank you, Kevin, for everything.